Our guest today is responsible for all regulatory, government, and external affairs, as well as community and industrial relations throughout Illinois for SBC, Illinois. Prior to joining SBC, our guest today practiced telecommunications and energy law for over 17 years. She is a board member of a number of major civic organizations, including the Lyric Opera, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Chicago Urban League, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, and she serves as a trustee of DePaul University. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Illinois and her law degree from Florida State University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the City Club of Chicago the president of SBC Illinois, Kerry Heitmann. Kerry?
Thank you very much for that introduction. For those of you who weren't named, you can all stand up if you weren't named yet, okay, so you don't feel bad. I'll tell you, I'm happy to be here today. And I think anyone, and there are several people here in the telecommunications industry, and they know what I mean. In this day and age, with this economy and this industry, it sure feels good to still be standing, right? Now, you might recall that a little less than a year ago, my boss, Bill Daly, was here to talk to you about the telecom industry and why things were so unstable. He talked about the hundreds of jobs in the telecom industry that were being lost around the country. He talked about the layoffs. He talked about the fact that our industry was really in turmoil. In fact, last year, our industry suffered more layoffs than any other industry in the entire country, and double the number of layoffs of the second most affected industry, which is computers. The last time that Bill was here, telecom wars for customers had begun in earnest, and each company was assembling artillery of new technology and calling packages to win the almighty market share. Today, the industry is still in a state of flux, and we're still in a high-stakes bid for customers, but much has changed within the industry and actually throughout the world from the time that Bill was here last. As should be evident to everyone in this room, we're in a whole new world of communications. We used to talk and be able to make easy demarcations between local telecommunications, long-distance telecommunications, cable TV, and computers. Now, people can make telephone calls through their cable. They can get fast internet service through the telephone lines. And that's not to mention all the things you can do with your cell phone, except apparently speaking quietly in public. Now, generally speaking, these changes are all good things, right? They've brought more services to consumers, which makes our lives a lot easier. But they've also brought new challenges and concerns, as happens with any major advance in technology. For example, Americans have become increasingly more aware about safety and privacy issues that arise from the technology that we now use every day. And that's what I see as a major challenge in the telecom industry in the future. How do you balance civil liberties and security? How do you balance the need to communicate quickly with the need to communicate from remote locations? How do you balance the need to invest in infrastructure with the reality of dwindling resources? This last challenge was supremely illustrated by the recent power outage that plagued the Midwest and East Coast. While the true cause of the outage might turn out to be the stuff of lore, like a squirrel eating through some transmission line, which the ComEd people here will probably tell me I'm crazy, but it could be that, okay? But more likely, the outage was caused by some weak link in the system that caused millions and millions and millions of dollars in cost and damage. But during all the mayhem and disruption caused by the outage, the traditional wireline phone system turned out to be the most reliable form of communication. In Michigan and Ohio, the SBC network met the challenge. Call volumes reached 220% and 132% respectively above normal levels in those two states during the outage. 173 central offices and 1,980 remote terminals were impacted by the outage. More than 4.5 million customer lines in those two states could have been impacted by the outage, but they weren't. Our system of backup generators and batteries ensured that customers had dial tone and that customers with non-electric phones could make calls. Those cordless phones created a little bit of a problem. Customers with laptops, if they charged their batteries, could still surf the net on dial-up or high-speed DSL lines. On August 14th, our network and our great employees were there when the public needed us. And our extensive emergency preparedness planning really paid off. Now, let me just say one thing that maybe all of you don't know, and I certainly hope that you do. SBC is the third largest private employer in the state of Illinois. We have a significant impact on this state. And as our 21,000 Illinois employees will tell you, maintaining our network requires investment in infrastructure, in employees, and in training. Just last year, we spent about $750 million, that's with a B, dollars on our network. That's about $2.2 million a day to ensure the network is working, that it's current, that it's ready to handle demand. Yet decisions about where and how to invest are becoming incredibly complex as we strive to invest in both our existing network infrastructure and the new technologies that will dominate the industry for decades to come. And I'd like to give you just one example of how we balance the old with the new. 1 week before the largest power outage this country has ever experienced reminded us about the importance of the local phone network, we announced a groundbreaking initiative to deploy more than 20,000 Wi-Fi hotspots in 6,000 venues over the next 3 years. Now, without getting too technical, I am a lawyer by training, Wi-Fi is shorthand for wireless fidelity, and it's a new high-speed internet access that allows customers to access the internet from places like coffee shops, hotels, airports, even your backyard, without plugging into a telephone jack. So basically, you can turn on your computer in any one of these locations, and with a few clicks of the keyboard, you can actually access the internet at speeds up to 25 times faster than dial-up. Wi-Fi, I think, is the ultimate in consumer convenience in today's high-tech world. Speaking of investment, in Illinois, we recently announced that we're investing about $100 million in DSL infrastructure in this state. I've had the pleasure of traveling across the state over the past several months to meet with local communities that will benefit from this broadband investment. And let me tell you, it's really been a thrill to meet with small business people who are excited about the prospect of affordable high-speed internet service, to talk with school teachers who can't wait for their students to experience the internet technology, knowing that access to the internet is paramount to succeeding in today's and tomorrow's workplace. SBC's investment in broadband technology in Illinois is unmatched in the industry, and it's a real honor to be able to announce its expansion to the very people who will benefit from it. Yet even as the benefits of new technology are widely acknowledged, increasingly we're seeing challenges arise as a result of technology being used in ways that consumers don't like. This new reality calls for leadership, not just from us in the industry, but also by consumer advocates, by policymakers, and others to address the needs of consumers. At SBC, we're working to create consumer safeguards for new technologies, just as we have embraced consumer protections for traditional phone service. And what I'd like to do is to highlight for you several areas where we're working to give consumers the type of protection that they deserve. Let's start with a situation that I'm sure is familiar to everybody in this room: the loss of control over your home phone. Years ago, we complained when our sons or daughters monopolized the phone lines. Or better yet, we were those sons and daughters monopolizing those phone lines, right? Now, it's telemarketers that we most fear when we hear the phone ring during dinner, right? While it's an important tool for legitimate businesses, hey, even us at the phone company like to call our customers, who could have envisioned a full-time automated telemarketing service? In my opinion, the even stranger part is, who would have ever thought that you'd get a phone call, you'd answer it, and you'd hear silence while some system was clicking in, and you'd never even get anyone on the phone before you hang up, if you're me. While caller ID is a helpful tool to combat telemarketers, at SBC we took the lead in creating an innovative way to offer consumers choice, again another option, in protection from unwanted telemarketers. We did this by creating Privacy Manager, which blocks incoming, unknown, or unwanted phone calls. More recently, when Congress took an important step in this area by creating a no-call list, SBC supported this effort as another step in providing consumers more choice. Now, I hope I'm not bursting anyone's bubble here by letting you know that the initial sign-up ended last Sunday for the first list that's effective October 1st. But don't fear, you'll have an opportunity to sign up even going forward. And if you sign up going forward, then you will not have any other telemarketers calling you that you don't want, starting at the first of the year. Something to look forward to. While the loss of control over your phone is invasive, it's generally not as damaging as identity theft. Now, for those of you who don't know, one popular method of identity theft is to rob consumers of personal information, including social security numbers or credit card information, and then establishing utility service like phone service in order to set up a bogus account with the victim's name. Even the national no-call list is being twisted into a platform for a new identity theft scam, one that we're seeing on the West Coast, where con artists either email you or call you asking for personal information and telling you they're going to sign you up on the no-call list, which isn't the case. We issued a consumer alert about this scam last week, and clearly these types of advisories that we can issue will become more important as long as identity theft remains a problem. While we try to prohibit occurrences from happening through public warnings and advisories, we will continue to work with customers who become victims of identity theft by helping them resolve claims that have affected their lives and their credit reports. And we continue to look for new ways, new effective ways to combat this very abusive practice. Another abusive technology is the viruses and worms that travel through cyberspace to affect your space. It's simply astonishing that a teenager in Minnesota can single-handedly disrupt corporations and consumers around the globe by disseminating a computer virus that travels over the internet. At SBC, we warn our customers about public attacks or threats of such attacks as soon as we learn about them. For our customers, we offer antivirus software, and we block internet ports that permit worms and viruses to spread from other networks. As the largest DSL provider in the country with about 2.8 million customers, we're working to find even more ways to block these attacks, as they will no doubt intensify in the future. We don't take the privacy and protection of these DSL customers who use our internet services, or any of our customers for that matter, lightly. And an issue that's even more topical, if not for all of you in the room, but for your children or your grandchildren, we recently confronted the recording industry in California by challenging the constitutionality of that industry's effort to track down online music swappers. By way of background, SBC has received hundreds of subpoenas from the recording industry requesting that our internet affiliate provide customer information based on screen names or internet addresses. These subpoenas require only the stamp of a court clerk with no requirement to show proof of alleged copyright infringement. Essentially, anyone who can fill out a simple form can demand the private information of an internet user. Significantly, in our view, the subpoenas require us to violate the privacy rights of our customers. We don't believe that the recording industry should be able to issue subpoenas under current federal law called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act without judicial oversight or without proof of wrongdoing. We believe the current way that subpoenas are being issued is a direct threat to the privacy of every Internet user. We understand that copyright owners have a right to protect their interests, and we don't want to encourage unlawful behavior. But we believe that in this case, our customers have the right to know that their private information will be protected. We know that these consumer protection issues and our approaches to dealing with them are still evolving. But our commitment is clear. We will work every day to protect our customers from unwarranted intrusions, regardless of where those intrusions originate. As I said at the outset, these are challenging times for our industry and for SBC. The national economy has plenty of room for improvement. Our industry is still dogged by outmoded regulation, and there are some industry issues left over from the go-go 90s that still need to be sorted out. Did I hear somebody in the audience mention MCI, maybe? No. Yet, in spite of those challenges, these are exciting times for consumers. Many of the services and technologies consumers have been hearing about for years are finally coming to market. Very soon, I expect that SBC customers will be able to buy a bundle of services, local, long distance, wireless, satellite TV, internet, and receive just one bill from us. And you can rest assured that as we invest in these new services and technologies, we will continue to embrace our role as the guardian of the local network that all of us continue to rely upon. Part of that guardianship means investing in the future, like the millions of dollars in technology grants we will award soon to nonprofit groups throughout the state, throughout all 13 SBC states, in fact, as part of our Accelerator Grant program. We started this program last year with more than $9 million in grants for community-based technology programs, and more than $1 million of those dollars were here in Illinois, so it's great. Well, that's our goal, to bring Illinois the communications opportunities of tomorrow while maintaining the standards of customer service we've established over 100 years. Because while the world of communications is rapidly changing, and we're helping to lead that change, our underlying values shouldn't. Whether it's ensuring that the local phone network can survive major power outages, investing millions in broadband technology, or protecting our customers from unwanted telemarketers. SBC is the only communications company in Illinois with the breadth of employees, infrastructure, and technologies to deliver these commitments to the people of Illinois. Thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yeah, if anyone, I didn't follow all the instructions they gave me. If anybody has any questions, there's a microphone right over there. You need to go over to it. And state your name, and because you will be on television, Jay says. I know this gentleman.
Well, it's good to be here again, Kerry. Gary Mack is my name. I'm representing the loyal opposition, the competitive Coalition for Telecommunications in Illinois. And you didn't talk about Senate Bill 885, Kerry, and you and I have discussed this before and some of these other issues, but I'd just like to get your thoughts on how and why SBC now says that 885 is large, and this is the bill, for those who don't know, that effectively would have doubled the rates that SBC charges to competitors in the industry for using their system. That this bill passed the General Assembly, as you know, and has now been declared unconstitutional by a federal judge and was opposed by Attorney General Madigan, Lieutenant Governor Quinn, AARP, the Citizens Utility Board, CUB, and virtually every newspaper in the state of Illinois, and saying that this is good public policy.
Do you want to maybe come up?
Why is it good public policy in view of the widespread universal opposition?
Well, first I've got to say that I've got to give you credit. This is the first time I've ever seen you appear on behalf of the ICCT and explain that the ICCT is a group of competitors to SBC. So it's good to have that out in the open as we begin the discussion, okay? Because usually it sounds like a consumer-sounding group. Second of all, let me just clarify a little bit your description of Senate Bill 85. And I know most people read about it in the paper. This has all happened in April and May of this year. What Senate Bill 85 did was to allow us to charge closer to the cost that we incur to provide wholesale service to your members, our competitors. And I think what the majority of the General Assembly that supported the bill and the governor that supported the bill and the Communications Workers of America and the Chicago Federation of Labor and the AFL-CIO and the IBW and the Chicagoland Chamber and the State Chamber and who else am I forgetting? The IMA and many other groups that supported that bill supported it because they recognized that without reform to the regulation that was in place, that carriers such as AT&T and MCI would continue to reap 56% profit margins in this state at our expense while we weren't allowed to recover our costs of providing service to them. Essentially, a subsidy to your members. And I think what happened was, and the reason why it was passed and the governor signed it into law, is because that's not a good policy to have. It didn't encourage investment in employees or investment in infrastructure in the state. So we are confident, you're correct, it's on appeal, or, well, I don't know if you mentioned the appeal. It was overturned by the district court. We've challenged that decision. Oral argument scheduled for September 24th, if I remember correctly. We are confident that the decision is going to be modified. We are thrilled that the legislature understood the issue. Anybody else?
Kerry, during your talk, you talked about long distance coming, and we were wondering when long distance will be coming to Illinois.
Thanks for asking. That's a great question. First off, I think everybody here as consumers knows that there is extensive competition in the local market. And our competitors, many of whom are represented here today, serve about 29% of the wireline market in Illinois. We have a huge amount of local competition. Our local markets are open. And the only thing that customers are missing is the ability to have real, full competition for long-distance service. At the same time, the oligopolists in the long-distance market, AT&T and MCI, have raised their rates, I think, 3 or 4 times already this year. Consumers want it, consumers need it, consumers will benefit from more competition in long distance. And I am happy to report that hopefully, if all goes well, we are scheduled to have, well, we are going to have a decision from the FCC October 15th, and we're confident that it will be a positive decision, which will be great for Illinois consumers.
Leighton Olson from the law firm of Howe & Hutton. 2 quick questions. One, I had seen recently that SBC and some of the other baby bells are looking to bid out for some of the fiber investments over the next decade or so. I wonder if you could give us a description where that is and how that might come about in Illinois. And second, would you expect next year another round of the Accelerator Grants here in Illinois?
Jay, do we allow 2 questions? Oh, I'm in charge. Wow, I'm in charge. As to the first question, it's obviously known in the industry and from all the news reports about the glut of high capacity lines that are available. I think as far as specific plans we have for acquisition of specific routes or whatever, I can't say standing here. But obviously, as the industry becomes more competitive, as we get into long distance in more states, we're almost done with the Midwest. I think those kinds of decisions will make more sense, and probably you'll see more of that as we go forward. When we were limited as far as long distance as we currently are, I think it sort of changes the need for that kind of purchase. As far as accelerator grants, let me say that this is the 2nd year we've done accelerator grants, but prior to last year, we were very active with our foundation making grants of all different sorts. The accelerator program is different in the sense that it's more targeted to technology-oriented, not-for-profits. I am confident that we'll be making more grants in the future, even after this current round of accelerator grants is completed. Whether we call them accelerator or whatever, we have a long history of being very generous with not-for-profits and others in the areas that we serve, and we will continue that tradition, I can assure you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you all very much. Oh, Michael Bauer.
Michael Bauer. Obviously, the telecommunications industry is one of the critical industries in our country that makes it amenable to terrorist attack, particularly after September 11. After September 11, can you discuss what SBC did to significantly change its security measures to protect its facilities from terrorist attacks? And more importantly to me, what do you think needs to be still done nationally to protect the telecommunications industry from being susceptible to a terrorist attack?
I think those are really interesting questions, and I think that even the power outage maybe is analogous, though it wasn't a terrorist attack, to tell you what you need to do and how well we've done it as far as planning and emergency preparedness. I'll never forget September 11th because I'd only been on the job for a couple of months, and the planning that had already been underway for emergency events, I didn't even know existed, and there were meetings and calls, and we didn't have any operations in New York, so we weren't directly affected, but we didn't know what was happening that day and where it would go next and what we would need to do. I think we have far more extensive emergency planning in place than anyone even realizes, and direct lines and communications channels with government. And I'm sure that the electric industry probably has similar kinds of communications links in place, most of which we wouldn't want to talk about. But I think that the key for terrorism, for power outages or other kinds of disasters is, number one, making sure you have backup power. Our backup generators and the ability to operate in isolation when everything around you is in turmoil, I think, is a key to being able to continue to provide service. And we saw that the wireless industry didn't do as well as the wireline industry. So that's number one. I think number two is just making sure security-wise that we are careful with with our facilities. And that's something that just, became a heightened issue in September of 2001. The security that we have in place now, even in our building, is far more stringent than it was when I started in early 2001. So I think we have done a lot. I'm sure that ComEd here in Chicago has done a lot and done similar kinds of things as we have. It's a scary time. You can't plan for everything, but you can have good plans in place for when a disaster does strike, and I believe we have those.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I still in charge?
Yes, you're still in charge, but you've got to accept this. Kerry mentioned the civic participation in the monies and so forth they give out. They're exceedingly generous to the City Club of Chicago, so I'm very grateful for that. And I mentioned the Centennial where Mayor Daley and Governor Blagojevich are going to be here. Ameritech has underwritten the cost of the banners. SBC, why do I say that? Probably because I'm used to paying those bills all those years. SBC Illinois, under the leadership of Kerry Heitmann and her company, have agreed to underwrite those beautiful banners that the mayor has throughout the city. So you're going to start seeing those between now and the 100th anniversary of the City Club of Chicago. So thank you. Now, this is all in compliance, Senator Sullivan and all the elected officials, with all those ethics ordinances that you pass week on and week out. A City Club mug to thank you. And on behalf of the City Club of Chicago, you have a one-year membership to the City Club. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Good. Thanks. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.